What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome. Okay, you know what it is? It's week 1. We're back. The season's finally here. It's crept up on us so quickly that we forgot we have to do player picks this week. And Ryan, if you can look, is not staring at the camera because he's feverishly late to putting his player picks in, but that's okay. It's his first year doing it. Jacob's no longer the last person to enter his player picks. This is a new beginning for Jacob in this. This, of course, is Dynasty Points. This is your favorite show to watch on Tuesday nights and your favorite show to listen to first thing Wednesday morning, and we love you for that. I just want to say that I got the notification via Twitter today that it's been 4 years since we joined that platform, since I convinced Jacob to create a Twitter handle, even though he did not want to. And we pulled our friend Big Billy, former co-host, in with us. And now we are here. And I'm proud of us for everything we've achieved. And I'm excited moving forward here with fantasypoints.com, changing the dynasty landscape over at one of the fastest growing fantasy football websites that exists. It's not hyperbole. It's just factual. Of course, I am your host with the most time in his hands. Joining me, as always, is Jacob, Sanderson, Lucas, Gilbert, Ryan, Heath. No time for a long intro. We have got a lot of stuff to get to. We have got player picks. We have got our fantasy football award predictions, which I cannot wait for the arguments for this. And we are going to do one final send-off to the best fantasy football game show that exists. It is 5 for 5. But before we get into any of that, here's a little taste of what you might have missed last week if you did not tune in to Dynasty Points. Leebs from the Fantasy Points Discord said, didn't Ryan already give his hot take with his iced coffee take? And you're right.
That's why he's not on this episode.
He didn't want to face the music is really what it is. I do, however, have his hot takes, even though Ryan's not here.
Where's Ryan tonight?
Ryan is busy with ass. The new metric at Fantasy Points. He is writing an ass article that does not feature Megan Thee Stallion.
I was just picturing Ryan just going nuts out on the town. He's just like, man, I won 5 for 5 first time a couple weeks ago. He's like the rainmaker out there.
Oh, shut up, Ryan, man.
Give me that ass. Hey, babe, what are you up to tonight? I'm working on some ass.
I'm just studying ass, like every nerd does. I got ass in the spreadsheets. You know what I mean? We can actually confirm now. That is the average separation score that we'll be releasing soon. Updates on the average separation score still in the works, but we promise it is out. The teaser trailer went out yesterday. Go and find it. I love this show. I mean, it feels like every week we are just here having a hell of a time. Before we get into the player picks, I just want to ask everyone one question. We'll go around the horn. What are you most excited for week 1 as a football fan? Not fantasy analyst, not spreadsheet virgin, not just what are you most excited about for NFL week 1? I'll start with Jacob.
I already posted mine on Twitter. I want to see Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in the same backfield. I think it's going to be really, really cool. Hall of Fame talent running back with the best rushing quarterback of all time. I drafted no Derrick Henry this year because I am a spreadsheet virgin, but I'm still going to greatly enjoy just this kind of surreal experience of watching those two team up. And really happy for the big dog that he doesn't have to go through the last couple of years of his legendary career on a sad Titans team and can go compete for a Super Bowl, run through some wide open lanes in Baltimore. I can't imagine how much you're going to enjoy watching the big dog on your own NFL team this year, Tom.
I am truly excited, but to add on there, I'll admit I'm nervous. He's got to get through week 1. He made it through training camp on their practice field. Now I just need to see. I've seen too many knees and Achilles go in like the first 3 weeks of the season. So after week 1, I feel like I'm going to be a lot more comfortable rooting for him. Ryan?
Yeah, this question's a little hard mode for me because, not a whole lot to
Nothing
be
excites
excited
you?
about on the Patriots in week 1. Yeah, also nothing excites me. I'm hard to excite you.
What about some ass?
When I first heard that clip, I just want to share this. I was walking down the beach, like I had taken the day off. I'm walking down the beach. I got my earbuds in, listening to the podcast, and I kind of knew the part was coming because Tom had tipped me off a little bit, but I was just like hysterically laughing at absolutely nothing to any passerby on the beach, assuming people were looking at me thinking I was a crazy person. And I can obviously never explain what is so funny to anybody. So that was my experience first listening to that. But anyways, I am gonna go with just Kyle Pitts. I just want Kyle Pitts in a real offense where they're throwing more than 18 times a game. That's kind of it. I just am ready for real Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, it's been too long. Lucas?
I think right now it's just the fact that the Broncos have a little bit of hope. Not that we'll actually be good, but there's a little bit more of a direction.
Classic. Look at the room behind him, and you wonder why this is the take.
Yeah. So I've suffered for a while. We won our last Super Bowl almost a decade ago. Holy cow. And that's gotten me by for quite a few seasons, going through the Trevor Siemians and this absolutely failed Russell Wilson experiment. And I'm ready for some actual hope again. And the Broncos are going to give that to me this season. Either we're going to completely suck and really hit the reset button and, fire's cleansing. It's going to be fun. Or we can actually believe in Bo Nix.
Oh, God. You guys are all delusional, I'm telling you. I'll say that what I'm most looking forward to for the NFL season is a little bit fantasy related. I have missed setting my lineups. I have missed going through my leagues because I don't play fake fantasy like best ball. I've been excited to look at my rosters again, some of them for the first time in a little while here, and actually decide who is going to play in week 1. That is very exciting. And I'll just hit again. I am excited to watch Lamar Jackson play football because he is not only the bringer of the most joy in my life week to week, he's also the most infuriating player I've ever watched on a week to week basis. So I'm excited for the season to watch him play football. Fun fact: I used to have a treadmill behind me while I watched the games, and my rule was every time I thought Lamar Jackson did something heroically stupid, I would do 10 minutes on the treadmill. The Indianapolis Colts game where he led the largest comeback in like the franchise's history, Jacob, the first half of that game, I might have done an hour on the treadmill because I was rolling around crying at how bad they played. So just a little bit of love. We take this thing very seriously, but again, remember, fantasy football is fun. We love this. So I'm truly excited as a football fan to see what this year brings us. Before we get into player picks and I explain the game, we are going to take our first break, knock it out early so Trey doesn't get mad at me, and we'll be right back. Have to, of course, be a company man at all times. Last week it was like 20 minutes in and it was like, hey, what are we doing? All right, look, we have it on the line again. It's player picks. Jacob won last year thanks to Ryan Heath. Jacob went from worst to first and jumped me in the rankings, and I could never recover. I was cruising like 12 weeks straight, guys. But here we go. This is how it works if you're new to listening. We know we're a Dynasty show, but we want something to brag about throughout the year because we play fewer games like 5 for 5 and things like that. So every week we take a quarterback outside of the top 15, a running back outside of the top 15, a wide receiver outside of the top 30, and a tight end outside of the top 12 in PPR. For projections, we each pick a lineup based on that, total the points. Person with the most points at the end of the year picks the beverages the other hosts for the live draft show. It is a great time. Billy almost didn't make it through year one. I struggled last year with the what was it, a pickle? What was it called? A pickle?
Pickleback. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I struggled after the pickleback. That thing was evil.
That
But
thing still haunts me. Having to finish maple syrup with pickle juice.
Yeah.
Since Jacob was kind and gave me the alternative, that was still rough.
Brutal. But it just puts that much on the line because personally, if I'm these guys, I don't want them to have me controlling what they drink for a live draft stream. And I definitely don't want them picking. So let's knock this out of the park. We're going to start with, I'll go first here. My lineup this week is a lot of upside. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this because it is week one, but I spent over an hour arguing Sam Darnold in the Discord earlier this week, and I'm never going to get that time back in my life. So I figured, why not this week put that argument to the test? Sam Darnold versus the New York Giants is a matchup that I like very much. Hopefully he can come out and just find Justin Jefferson 3 times in this game, and we all live happier lives, and we can all sell the rest of the Sam Darnold that we have. At running back, I am taking the healthy James Conner against Buffalo. We don't know how many times we're going to get healthy James Conner. I don't know how many times we're going to get him as projected below top 15 at this rate with how much Kyler bumps up running backs. Wide receiver, because I do the show sheet first and Jacob was late, I get to pick his boy. I'm going to go Tank Dell versus the Indianapolis Colts. Don't know how many times he's going to be outside of the top 30 this year. I want to take advantage of that. And I mean, let's face it. We got a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end playing against Carolina this week outside of the top 12 of tight ends. I'm taking Taysom Hill to be a touchdown vulture for at least one. And at the end of the day, that's what we need in this scenario. Give me Taysom Hill at tight end. Darnold, Connor, Tank, and Taysom. Jacob.
All right, a quarterback, I'm going with Baker Mayfield. Emmanuel Forbes last year as a rookie was absolutely atrocious for the Washington Commanders. Also the most undersized outside cornerback in the league. And who do you want him to go up against if you're an opposing quarterback? Perhaps the tall, muscular tree Mike Evans, who might get about a 9 to 10 inch height difference over Forbes this week. I think he'll be targeted repeatedly. Baker Mayfield should get off to a good start in the nut matchup for opposing quarterbacks. At running back, this one kind of feels like absolute stealing that he is ranked outside the top 15. I'm going to go with Joe Mixon. The current battle to be his running back 2 in Houston is between Cam Akers and Dameon Pierce. The only takeaway I can get from that is that I expect to see an 80% snap rate for Joe Mixon in week 1. At wide receiver, I'm going to go with the Mexico City game. And I'm going to say that Jayden Reed is the Green Bay Packer who's able to start off red hot down in Mexico, working against the Philadelphia Eagles in a game with one of the highest totals on the week. And then finally at tight end, I'm going to go with the hen house, Hunter Henry. Patriots are approximately a zillion point underdog this week. That means I think they're going to be having to drop back to pass repeatedly. Jacoby Brissett is a total statue back there. I think he's going to be dumping it off 3-4 times to Henry in the fourth quarter of a hopeless, sad Patriots team just waiting until the owner comes down and tells them they have to start the rookie quarterback.
That's right. Let's go, Lucas.
So for my picks this week, I went with some players that are a little bit older, but I'm thinking that they're going to start off the season hot. They didn't need that preseason to get going. They're going to knock it out. And so at quarterback, going with Justin Herbert. I know we have a lot of questions about what this scheme's going to look like for the Chargers, but they're going up against
what
Las
it'll look
Vegas.
like, but go ahead.
All right. They're going up against Las Vegas.
Be careful mentioning the Chargers, or Thomas might want to argue about Josh Palmer for an hour.
25 minutes.
I almost did Josh Palmer as my wide receiver, but I digress. I don't want to do a stack this early. That's whenever I get a little bit more desperate.
Roman stack. I'm sorry.
At running back, I'm going to go with Aaron Jones. I can't believe he's outside of the top 15, especially going up against the Giants. Absolutely love that matchup, and I think that they're going to run or lean on the running game. I don't think this is going to necessarily be a shootout. Give him touches, and hopefully can find his way into the end zone a couple of times too. Christian Kirk going up against the Miami Dolphins. I'm expecting that to be a very high scoring game. So I'm hoping that they're going to use him. I don't think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be as involved as people want initially. And I can't take Evan Ingram. So I'm going to go with Christian Kirk. And then at tight end, the riskiest pick, I think, I'm going to go with Luke Musgrave as a high upside option at Philadelphia. So Tucker Kraft might be able to come in and compete for that job, but Luke Musgrave to start off last season was the tight end one. We do know that Kraft took over whenever Musgrave went down, but I'm going with upside here because Hunter Henry was already off the board and it made me sad. So those are my picks.
I feel like I have to defend my honor here when Neil Orfield, the great Flannelverse creator, says that I'm pro Josh Palmer. I can assure you that the listener only tier sheet and ranking adjustments episode that Ryan Heath and I went through, it turned into a 25-minute long Josh Palmer argument.
25 more minutes than anyone ever needed to spend discussing Josh Palmer.
That's what I was going for, but Ryan kept going.
I dared to say maybe Josh Palmer should be ranked higher than wide receiver 90. That's all I said. And
in what format?
20 minutes in Dynasty. He was below Elijah Moore. Okay, like
I don't care.
I also don't care.
It was an Dynasty wide receiver irrelevant.
We're not doing it again. We're not. Look what Josh Palmer is doing. He's tearing us apart, and I can't accept that in this outcome.
Neil, offline, we can book McConkey versus Palmer bets for this year.
I'm willing
my
to
hot take from the last episode was that Josh Palmer was going to be the most infuriating asset in fantasy football. It's already happening. Not even a full.
I'm infuriated that people keep bringing this guy up.
It's Hayden Hurst, guys. It's a Greg Roman team. It's Hayden Hurst. He's the tight end. Let's use our brains here respectfully. Ryan Heath, your lineup before this goes off the rails on another Greg Roman, Josh Palmer nightmare episode.
Yeah, first I gotta say first about Josh Palmer though, Tom.
Oh no,
I don't like him this week. I don't
like dare you pick Josh Palmer
just to give you that, just to throw you that bone. Anyways, my picks. We are
in the comments talking about Quentin Johnston now.
No.
Okay, yeah.
That's enough of that. Enough.
All right, Geno Smith against the Broncos is my pick. Just very likely the Seahawks are to increase the pace, increase the pass rate this year. I'm excited for what it's going to look like. I like Geno this week as the favorite. At running back, I'm going Raheem Mostert, one of the highest game totals against the Jaguars of the week. Live for multiple touchdowns. I'll take that. I'm just going very like upside DFS brand in this game. We'll see how that goes for me. At wide receiver, T. Higgins. Maybe Jamar Chase plays, maybe he doesn't, maybe he's limited, whatever. Higgins benefits. The Patriots play a ton of man coverage. Higgins was better than Chase against that last year anyway. And then at tight end, going Noah Fant, literally just to stack a Seahawk. I don't know if this is good strategy in this game, but we're going to find out how upset I am.
We would call that kind of the chalk with all those high upside DFS play here. So Nick Fury says, log on. Jacob mentions QJ about to become a real life Abe Simpson meme.
I'm the bad wide receiver police. Someone brings up an irrelevant wide receiver in the comments. I immediately get on the case. I get my badge, I get my gun, and I fire.
Oh my God. Fire him straight into the sun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited for this.
QJ takes.
I'm excited for this year's player picks weekly because it's been a lot of fun, but now we've got all four of us. We all have four completely different methods in this game, and I have come up in second every year. We have done this. I'm due. I'm due. This is my year. It's now or never. We're going to take our second break here, get that out of the way early, and then it is go time for pretty much the rest of the evening. We're going to come back and run through how we're doing the awards. Shout out. And I'm disappointed. Really only one person left us suggestions. I'm disappointed in everyone else. So don't think you're getting away unscathed from that. We're going to be right back, and we're going to get right into prediction time. Okay, so every single year we do this. We pick fantasy awards. We pick our who we think are winning the Super Bowl, who's it going to be against, and who the real-life NFL MVP is going to be, just for fun. And, for bragging rights, of course. None of us have been right on the Super Bowl, so who knows? Maybe we just got to stop betting against the Chiefs at this point. I just don't know. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to do the fantasy MVP. We're going to do the fantasy LVP, who we think is going to be the biggest
No,
bust.
that's not true. I got the Rams 3 years ago.
Did you? I apologize. I
didn't have them
retract
against
my
the Bengals,
statement.
But I had the Rams the Stafford year.
Okay. I retract my
It's
statement.
like the only one that I've ever gotten right in my life, and I need credit for that.
We've got sleeper of the year. We've got the biggest dynasty riser. And then we've got from the comments. And when I say from the comments, only Brian Ford. So shout out Brian Ford and everyone else. Shame on you. Get in those comments when I tell you, because you get the shout outs. We have Zero RB Hero, the Hero RB 0, most likely to inspire a Jakob Rant, and the Ryan Heath Whole Lotta Ass Award, brought to you by Teasers Strip Club here in Winnipeg, unofficially.
Can you imagine if we got our show actually sponsored by Teasers?
I mean, I can
Gotta
put
give
in
Brad
a
a
few
shout.
phone calls.
Give Brad a shout. CVS
Put some phone calls, just,
Yeah.
Hey, why not? Let's start this off. You know what? We're gonna leave fantasy MVP for last. We're actually gonna do this in reverse order. It'll be more grandiose that way. Let's start with the from the comments awards via Brian Ford and no one else, because you all let me down on this. I expect you to make up for it this week. We're gonna go the 0 RB hero. Who is the 1 RB that 0 RB enthusiasts are gonna love, like Austin Eckler a couple years ago for Best Ball Mania? Jacob.
I'd probably say Jaleel McLaughlin would be the first pick, just in terms of a guy that you can actually stream right out of the gate, and then also has the potential to be a really good value later on if there's contingent value. I kind of changed my mind on this backfield recently. I was previously in mostly on the 2 bigger backs. Now I'm in on just all 3 backs after seeing Jaleel get some of the long down and distance stuff. So shifted a little bit off of estimate and a little bit more into Jaleel, still targeting all 3. But I think Jaleel is that perfect fit where you could probably stream him early season in 0 RB. And then if anything was to happen to Javonte, you might have an every week start for the whole rest of the season.
Love that pick. Ryan?
I'm going to go J.K. Dobbins here. Just guy you can get kind of later, probably the most talented player in the backfield. We can see it kind of immediately how it shakes out week 1. Wouldn't be like that shocking if he was just projecting as a high-end RB2 after the first couple of weeks, once we figure out how this backfield is going to be broken down. Yeah, that's kind of all there is to it.
Yeah, upside play for sure. In the chat here, Jamie said Jerome Ford. I like that pick. Lucas.
I'm going to go with Brian Robinson Jr. I mean, we've talked him to death this offseason, it feels like, on this show, but I absolutely love him, and he's going in the late 20s for running backs right now. I think in the drafts I've been doing, he's an 8th or 9th round pick. Like, that's a perfect spot, and he has the upside to be a top 12 RB. He already was for a very good stretch last season, whenever I think it was RB5 through at least week 11. Like, yeah, give me that all day. I don't care about Austin Eckler being there.
I have one that might cause some controversy. Are we ready?
Let's hear it.
A likelihood of all of our favorite running backs surviving the NFL season is about 0.
Correct.
So there's one handcuff to me that 0 RB drafters can be getting a top 4 round redraft value. We talked about that exact scenario here on Dynasty Points. Tyler Allgeier in the Falcons offense, should anything happen to Bijan Robinson, can easily become a 13 to 15 point per game player with blow up potential in this offense. There's even less behind Allgeier than there is on some other NFL rosters. Some backup situations are questionable. This one is not. There's no veterans coming in to save the day. I mean, hell, Leonard Fournette is being brought into Indy for a workout. We do not fear Leonard Fournette in the year of our Lord Greg Roman 2024. Okay? Allgeier to me is a smash. And if no Bijan were there now, I truly believe we're looking at a top 4 round redraft ADP. So to me, if you've stashed Allgeier as a 0 redrafter, it's kind of the only thing you can be hoping for at this point. If it comes true, congratulations, you have a league winner. It's a little sad, but sometimes that shit happens. We have to, All right, let's do our next award again, courtesy of Brian Ford and no one else for not leaving comments. Hero RB 0. Which running back you're gonna draft to be your hero RB, and it is going to blow up in your face. I know it's a tough one. It is a tough one. It can be difficult. I hate
every running back, so it's hard for me.
It is true.
If I have to pick an early one, I don't know. I'll just pick the guy that I've been hating on all season, I guess. So I think that and Kyren Williams is not a great pick where he's been going. Better where he's been going after the ridiculous punt return stuff, though.
Right.
So that's soak up that discount. But in terms of first 2-round pick, if he's going there, not for me, thanks. I predict Corum to work into a 2-to-1 rotation pretty early, maybe even a little bit more over the course of the season. I don't think he's going to be a 0. I think the only guys going early that are going to be 0s are whichever guys get hurt. I don't think there's anyone at risk of fully losing their job until the mid rounds. But I think in terms of a hero RB first 2 rounds, I think you're going to look at Kyren by the end of the year and say there's a lot of guys going around 6 that are performing similarly.
Right. If I'm talking about a hero RB, someone that I am taking to be my anchor, the love of my fantasy football life, if you would, the guy that to me allows me to make a lot of mistakes in the mid-tier rounds that I think could disappoint me, it's Achane. I'll tell you why. Don't roll your eyes at me, Ryan. I knew you were going to do it.
I kept a straight face.
No, I saw
you
your
said
eyes,
it, and I was like, I'm keeping a straight face.
No, your eyes drifted immediately. I was watching. You can't. I will run the film back. Here's why. What if Mostert isn't dead? Okay, and what if the Dolphins what if the Dolphins don't rush for a truly obscene amount of rushing touchdowns, and they actually let Tua throw some passing touchdowns, or he just can figure it out late in the year, and not enough of those go to Achane? What if Achane, wide receiver 3, doesn't come to fruition? There are a lot of ifs here for a guy that does not get enough touches to not need insane efficiency and touchdown luck to hit as a anchor running back. It's not who I trust. If I think that there is one person without injury that could let us down enough for it to matter, to me, I'm going to pick Achane. You keep your 10 touches without the touchdowns, Jacob. I know on Twitter you said that 11 carries for 40 yards and 2 catches for 10 yards was a usable week. I like more than 7.3 fantasy points for my running back.
You give Achane 11 carries, and we can count on a nice, 85 yards like that. Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, that's fine. It's the 11 with 3 touchdowns in a game to me that I think can be hilariously unrealistic. Oh my goodness, you're the best
player in the world.
Okay, Zoomer. Lucas.
When he gets touchdowns, when he gets efficiency, maybe he's in charge of his own destiny. Boomer.
Jesus, Lucas.
Oh goodness, Thomas, I can't believe that one. My hero RB who will be a 0, unfortunately, is Travis Etienne Jr. I think that people are going to be seeing him in the 2nd round, drafting him, and they're going to be so excited because they took somebody like CeeDee Lamb in the 1st round. And you're just going to be so frustrated with him all season. Wherever you see the workload, you see that the efficiency or the poor efficiency from last season rears its ugly head again. And you're going to be sitting there with somebody who is never really a true RB1 each week, but at the end of the season, he might have an RB1 total. And you're just going to be left wanting more. So That's going to be my 0.
That's not bad. I actually like that pick. I like that pick. And
That's
Dynasty,
what I thought you were going with. honestly.
round three for Dynasty guys is still absolutely criminally insane. What are we doing, Ryan?
I'm going to go Isiah Pacheco here. So I've been on quite a journey with Pacheco this offseason. I think early in the summer when he was like a 4th round best ball pick, I was really into it, just on the idea of what if the Chiefs don't sign anybody and he just gets the Jerick McKinnon role as well as the Isiah Pacheco role, where he was like a top 5 running back down the stretch. And then the Chiefs signed somebody, and I think Samaje Perine is a credible threat to, at a minimum, do the Jerick McKinnon thing. And that just makes me lose all interest in Isiah Pacheco. I know I'm like a couple weeks late to this news or whatever. Haven't been on the show since it happened, but just thought I'd give the take. I don't care about like Carson Steele or whatever. The real goal line vulture on the Chiefs is Mahomes, or who.
Well, the goal line vulture is really Andy Reid and like the 7th-string tight end that he wants to call a rugby play for.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know that Pacheco is going to be like a horrendous bust or whatever, but I think anyone that was taking him in the top 2 rounds of redraft leagues especially is going to be pretty disappointed when his production looks fairly similar to last year.
Yeah, no, I think that was totally fair. Also, remember, perfectly called landing spot, Samaje Perine, right here on this show. We were the earliest, so shout out to us. Let's go with the player most likely to inspire a Jakob Sanderson rant. Last year, this player was Justin Fields, as people were saying that Justin Fields was a more viable fantasy asset than Lamar Jackson. I got like 2 weeks worth of content out of Jacob's 20-minute rant on that alone. Who's it going to be this year, guys? Jakob, because it's about you. You get to go last. I'll start with Lucas.
I got to think about the kind of things that I rant about. All right.
So I think it might be cheating to use this player since Jacob's already had a rant about at least the coaches for this player. And it's going to be Brock Bowers. I think that there's going to be so many chances that Brock Bowers shows out that he has these elite traits. And we're going to get 8 fantasy points on the week and sit here and go, what are you doing, Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Jacob's going to say that in a way better tone. He's going to articulate his words at an elite level. And we might have 10 minutes of just pure gold sitting here that's going to live on the internet for the rest of time. And every single time that Brock Bowers disappoints again, we can just replay it.
Right. And I'll be lapping that victory every week just to send him even further into the abyss. Ryan, this is your first year full time here on this program. You may not be as accustomed to these rants as the rest of us, but who do you have as the player that's going to send Jakob off the hardest? Pause.
I'm going to steal my answer from the chat because I'm kind of surprised there hasn't been a Jakob rant about this one in the last 5 minutes since the comment was posted. But Best Ball Moderate asking if he should stash Dalvin. I don't know, Jakob. If Dalvin Cook gets activated and put into this Cowboys backfield, I know you're already a little bit brain broken on Twitter over the Rico Dowdle stuff. What's going to happen when it's like Dalvin Cook 12 carries for 30 yards and people are treating this as like not only like, oh, you were wrong about Rico Dowdle, but also like, shit, is Dalvin Cook like the guy I pick up now? Are we streaming Dalvin Cook this week?
We're not streaming Dalvin Cook any week.
It's already starting. It's already starting. He can't help himself.
Yeah. I definitely like the Cowboys backfield is.
See?
I mean, first of all, it's just hilarious.
Ryan wins already.
I just made it happen. No, keep going.
The Cowboys backfield is definitely the thing that's like the most likely to tilt me at some point because there's in every possible permutation of the Cowboys backfield, like some deeply horrible running back is going to be getting fantasy points. So it's some way or another, it's going to tilt me. Like, honestly, probably the right answer is probably Rico, because the thing that I get most tilted about is like when my takes are correct and other people take them too far. And like, if we get like 100-yard and a touchdown Rico Dowdle game, and then people start saying like, should I trade a first for Rico Dowdle? Like, what if Rico Dowdle's actually good? Like, that's what I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. Like, that would be like, I'm gonna be out of control.
Right. That's gonna be one. If I think there's one player that I think is actually gonna make Jacob lose his mind, it's got to be the prince that was promised. And if he somehow still doesn't produce the way he wants him to, it's got to be Trevor Lawrence. Because if we don't have like top 6 Trevor Lawrence by like week 6, I am going to be so relentlessly obnoxious.
Top 6, isn't he like QB 17?
Yeah, but here's the thing: we said if he doesn't absolutely break out this year and doesn't like light it up as the prince that was actually. Would you let me finish? This is why I know I'm right. This is why I know I'm right.
Straw man shit.
Look, last week someone called us unprofessional for talking over each other, and here you are perpetuating the stereotype on this podcast, not letting somebody finish. So can I finish? All right, I'm gonna finish.
Maybe.
Pause. Trevor Lawrence, if he does not break out this year and give us the prince that was promised, I'm going to be relentless in saying that Purdy is better with more than just actual real-life data that Jacob fails to recognize because it does not suit his argument. If Trevor Lawrence fails one more time and Brock Purdy is again better, be prepared for me to send Jacob through the window behind him with how obnoxious I am, and the rant will be nothing short of legendary.
Tom is the most spiritually accurate because like the one thing in all of football that by far tilts me the most is people standing for these fraudulent Ponzi scheme ass quarterbacks. So like probably the most likely, easily the most tilted I've ever been about this subject was like when Purdy took over and I was out there telling anybody to listen to be like, Purdy's going to be great, guys. Like, it's literally, you can't fail in this thing. This is finally going to be the proof that Jimmy G sucked all along. Purdy's going to kill it. And that was fun for like 2 weeks. And then everybody was like, no, Purdy's actually really good. So like the only thing I could think that could tilt me more than that experience is if Sam Darnold, after a career of being like the least efficient quarterback in every statistical category, goes out and has a top 12 EPA season, which I fully expect him to do. And then instead of all the people being like, okay, yeah, maybe it is a fraud perpetuated on the public. If in week 6, all of the Purdy, Tua, Goff, Jimmy stands come out and are like, maybe Sam Darnold's been good all along, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I'm gonna jump into the ocean and like drown myself with an anchor. I will not be able to handle it.
Yeah, Sam Darnold QB1 season is coming for Jacob's mental health.
I wanted to reply to that comment that was on the screen. Andy Dalton has a top 5 fantasy season. Trevor Lawrence does not.
Does not. Yeah, that's right. That is correct. Yeah, wanted
to point that out.
Right. Yep. That I agree. I agree with all that. We've gotten two mini rants already. So that's how I know this season is here, because Jacob's already prepared to lose his damn mind. Let's go to the next one. Let's go the Ryan Heath Whole Lot of Ass Award, brought to you by Teasers. Now there's 2 ways we can do this. Who do we think is going to be the best separator? That's not fun. Who to me?
Who's going to make Ryan the most uncomfortable?
Well,
I think it's Vita Vea. We're just talking about who's got the best ass.
No, I think that's probably going to be the chat, Ryan, given this show's history, especially when people find out where to comment about Jacob's hog. But no, we're going to make this, I'm going to say a Whole Lot of Ass Award as, this is a tough one because the best separator of the year, like we know that's Tyreek Hill. I'm going to spin this negatively. The Whole Lot of Ass Award, brought to you by Teasers at the end of the year, is going to be, let's call it the biggest. We can't even do that because we're doing the biggest bust. This is a tough question. This is really tough to frame it. Let's go biggest tease. There you go. Who's going to be the biggest fantasy tease of the year? I actually like that one. That was very tough, Brian. Well done.
I don't know.
Biggest tease.
I got one. You ready? Rashad Bateman.
Oh my God, his whole life is
People
a tease.
bringing back the Rashad Bateman. Matt Harmon, I blame you. People bringing back the faith in Rashad Bateman. We have seen Lamar Jackson be unable to hit Rashad Bateman, regardless of how open he is, to the point where it doesn't even throw it to him. Not only that, but he might be one of the worst receivers I've ever actually seen try to catch a football. He is bad. It got to a point last year where every time they threw him the ball, I was praying that it was going to Patrick Ricard instead. This guy is touted as being an elite separator and can get open. Maybe it's because nobody pays attention to him. He's going to be the biggest tease, and he will be droppable by the end of the Dynasty
Probable
season.
right now.
There we go.
Yeah,
Well,
from now. if you want.
not if you're a fan of Matt Harmon and the
That's
other
true.
people that are pro Rashad Bateman.
I'm going to go
I'm
spiritually
so sorry.
similar 1 year earlier on the timeline. Jameis Williams. He's been nothing but a tease his whole career. He will continue to tease. Unlike Rashad Bateman, where like the truthers kind of know that they're engaging in like harmful behavior, where it's like you go like whenever Rashad Bateman stands, he's like, I know. I shouldn't be doing this, but like maybe
Always a little
like
tongue in
with Jameson, he still has like full-throated defenders. Like I think Lucas is even one of them. Like there's people out there who like come out there and earnestly believe in Jameson Williams. He's going to be a tease. It's going to be 2 weeks of nothing and victory laps, and then it's going to be 1 week of 3 catches, 94 yards, and a touchdown. And the truthers like, see, and it's going to be that all year long.
Yep. We're going to talk Jameson Williams in this program a couple of times. Brian Ford said sad trombones. Dustin Ross, fellow Winnipegger, says a super dingy Winnipeg strip club is now sponsoring your show. Sweet. Unofficial, but I mean,
Yeah,
hey.
Justin's watching from there right now. They
yeah,
put up on
he
the
is.
plasma screen
He
TV.
pulled it up. We're playing on the live screen. Well, I don't know. Candy is doing the routine. Who knows? Ryan, let's go to you for the biggest tease of the fantasy season.
I'm gonna go like a slightly different direction with this. Instead of like washed wide receivers, we're not even washed, just never were wide receivers. I'm gonna go with Trey Benson, and the reason for that is gonna be that it's gonna be like James Conner, 70 to 80% opportunity share. He's gonna get hurt and miss like 2 or 3 games, like he does every single season. And we're gonna get like 60% opportunity share. Trey Benson, he's gonna make some big plays. It's gonna be awesome. We'll be super excited. Like people will be trading for him in Dynasty, pants all the way off. And then Connor's gonna come back, and it's gonna be the exact same thing as it was before. Like he's just not gonna hold on to any role whatsoever, and it'll be like a debate we have for the entire 2025 offseason. Is Trey Benson actually good? Why couldn't he hold on to any sort of opportunity share? But it's just that James Conner is inevitable and that he's not going to cede any of it.
All right. I can vibe with that. Macho's Corner wants to know, did we crown the best player yet? Not yet. We're doing that towards the end
We're working our way there.
for a crescendo. Lucas?
I think I'm going to go with somebody who could actually win this award, not just for the way we're interpreting it, but also have the biggest award. And that is going to be Jerry Jeudy. I think that as the wide receiver 2 in Cleveland, people are going to see the opportunity for him to produce anything. But as a Broncos fan, I've already lived that experience. I've already seen the stellar separation numbers. I know how well he can run a route. And at the end of the day, it just breaks your heart whenever your team still sucks at least offense, because the Browns have a good defense. But
I just
you
want
still
to say
can't
that,
score, and your fantasy points are still terrible.
I just want to say there that 2 of the players that have been mentioned so far have like legitimate blurbs in the ass drop, so they work on both levels.
Ass drop.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're dropping it. They're
drop.
dropping it real low for the ass article that will drop tomorrow.
I was not happy to put my name on anything that had Jerry Jeudy involved in it. But
I wouldn't be either. I mean, ask Lucas. He did it for years, and look where that got him.
Yep.
Terrible. Yep. All right, we're gonna take our last break, and then we're gonna get into biggest risers, biggest busts, MVP, the rest of that before we do our final 5 for 5 of the season. You're gonna want to sit tight. Just a reminder that Fantasy Points live schedule is absolutely loaded. You are not going to want to miss the new Underdog Drafter Party going live after Cashing Points at 8:30 Eastern Time with Ryan Heath and Jake Tribby as they draft Battle Royale teams. It's going to be a great time. This is new content, never before seen for Fantasy Points. You're not going to want to miss it. A little drafter party after Cashing Points. Cannot wait for the live stream kickoff to really get into full swing. I mean, it really starts with college football last night, us today, and then it just does not stop at all, mind you. All right, let's get into who we think is going to be the biggest dynasty riser through the 2024 season. This one actually took me a while to figure out, and as I stare at it, I hate Ryan's pick. So let's start with that.
That was the idea. Yeah.
Oh, you're learning. Welcome.
Honest to God, this was the last one on the show sheet I needed to fill out. I'm like, what would go for maximum just make Thomas upset? And no, it's not Christian Watson's left hammy. It's Rashid Shaheed. So let me make the case here, okay? And I know there's going to be some pushback, I'm sure. Look,
I'm about to have a rant.
Oh my God. So Rashid Shaheed, really efficient player, right? Has gotten to the NFL level, been insanely efficient on a per out basis in all the nerdy stats, has even just his overall production with Chris Olave on the field has been fairly similar to Olave, right? We're drafting him a gazillion rounds later in all formats, right? Also, this Saints offense should look different this year. We have Clint Kubiak coming in. The Saints were dead last in use of motion and play action, or bottom two, or something like that last year. So both Olave and Shaheed, we could see a lot better efficiency from. Michael Thomas, obviously off the team. Both players were a lot better with him off the field as well last year. I can just see like a year three kind of tepid breakout for a Rashid Shaheed. And he's currently valued as like a kind of nothing bench stash flex play in Dynasty. I think that we could see him rise up to like the 6th-ish round of startups. And that would qualify as my biggest Dynasty riser.
You're the biggest.
You've been hanging out with Scott Barrett a long
too
time.
long.
Give it up. Try to force this little dweeb on me.
You write enough articles with Scott Barrett, you co-write enough stuff about ass, and you start getting Rashid Shaheed takes. It's
the
true.
biggest detriment to Rashid Shaheed and his ability to rise up dynasty ranks is production, and I don't think that changes this year because Derek Carr is still his quarterback, and he can barely support one fantasy viable wide receiver. And
there's only one wide receiver who triggers me more than Rashid Shaheed, and I'm pretty sure Lucas put that loser on his sheet later. Both these guys are psyops. They don't do anything. They don't earn any volume. They suck. They're useless.
I can't wait. Jacob, go ahead with yours.
Yeah, so I don't like your small sample efficiency wide receiver, but let me give you my small sample.
I was going to say,
wide receiver.
The name right below this one on the show sheet. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'll give you Dontavion Wicks. Basically the same thing. The difference is I think that he's a more versatile player. I think Shaheed is basically just a deep threat. We've also seen it for a couple of years. Wicks, to me, has a more well-rounded game in terms of being able to win against all sorts of coverages, providing yak ability, actually being able to win over the middle and intermediate areas of the field. And tons of contingent upside. I don't know what the rotation is going to be like in Green Bay. I mean, honestly, this whole wide receiver room might just be the teasers award for the year if they just keep ping-ponging weeks back and forth. But I think if Wicks gets a chance by injury or by them finally giving up on this Romeo Dobbs shit they keep forcing down our throats, that maybe we'll actually get a month of 75% route rate Dontavion Wicks. And, you know, if you're going to be in the fantasy industry in 2024 and you want to be perceived as a ball knower, you just have to
just say
talk about Dontavion Wicks.
It's true.
And why he's God's gift to the world. So give me Dontavion Wicks stepping up here in year 2 And see, Neil Orfield gets it. Thanks for proving you know ball. Dontavian Wicks, biggest dynasty riser because I know ball.
Yeah, shout out Ryan Heath for being like no needle mover on Dontavian Wicks early in the year.
I felt like no one talked about him until I did. I might have just been tuned out, honestly.
I felt the same, but maybe we were just all working in vacuums, and then it all came together. For the record, like Dontavian Wicks,
team nerd.
Like, there's a 10% chance that I'm right. There's a 90% chance that like this time next year, Wicks just has the same season he had last year, and then everybody else is still doing the Wicks thing, and I'm like, shut up and move the fuck on from Dontavian Wicks.
We are exactly 12 months away from me putting Dontavian Wicks as my dynasty riser of the year and Jacob getting really upset about it.
Yeah. I could add that. You know what? You already are understanding like how in season this is going to go. And I'm really proud of you for that. Lucas, who's yours?
So this is the first of several times I apparently have disagreed on some of our other awards. And my riser of the year is Mr. Trey Benson. So I think for a lot of the same things that Ryan was saying, he's not going to see the field a lot. James Conner is still very much in play, but I think that the touches that he's going to get are still going to be very efficient. People are going to get excited about seeing an explosive athlete in this Arizona Cardinals offense with some other talent around him. And it's going to be very easy to buy into that. And we're going to see that boost come startup drafts next season. I think that he can follow a very similar path to Javonte Williams potentially. I don't know if he'll get into the second round. That's really pushing it there. But I very much see a world where he's going to be a third round pick next season. And at minimum, I think a fourth round pick. I think right now he's going at the end of the 7th round in startup. So it's not a massive rise, but I think that the ceiling that he can reach is one of the higher ones for somebody that you're drafting after round 6.
Okay, I can vibe with that. I have the only right answer here. Sorry to tell everybody that, but it's just facts. It's Rashee Rice. We never should have gotten 7-8 turn Rashee Rice, suspension or not. They brought in Xavier Worthy. Okay. Hollywood Brown is a near zero in Dynasty. Like, enjoy your round like 9 or 8 wide receiver that could easily be like around 10 when he's not re-signed to Kansas City next year. After he plays only 8 games. So see ya.
Future New England Patriot. Marquise Brown.
Exactly. Just to get outdone by Pop Douglas anyway. I used to love Hollywood Brown, but I'm kind of sick of his shit at this point. But Rashee Rice has a legitimate chance to jump in the second round of Dynasty startups next year. On Market Report, we said that he was basically mini Amon-Ra St. Brown towards the back half of the year. He averaged well over 16 points per game when he became a full-time player. Should he maintain being the number one guy, which I know a lot of people love Xavier Worthy, but in the last preseason game, it was first target Rashee, need a third and long, Rashee. He, to me, looks like the wide receiver one. If we get another 16 point per game season, even 15.5 point per game going into the vaunted year 3 breakout, I mean, oh my God, this guy is going to go from round 7 to round 2 and absolutely go nuts. Established as the number one receiver in Kansas City, passing Travis Kelce as he gets 1 year older. Now, the only thing that can hurt this whole thing is the whole suspension gimmick, but I'm still only predicting 4 years, and it took Kamara like 1.5 years to get suspended for his whole thing. So still not going to worry about that. Didn't worry about that all year. Dynasty Points listeners didn't worry about that all year. We're, again, could possibly get Patrick Mahomes wide receiver 1 in round 2 next year. And no one should be surprised by that when it happens. So Rashee Rice is that dude this year. All right, let's go with the team stack of the year. This one is going to be good. What team? I picked players. I saw everyone else. 2 of us picked teams and 2 of us. Oh, no, 3 of you picked teams. Great. I'm the only one that picked specific players.
Stack, right? That's
a
team.
As the one who suggested the prompt, I was looking for a team.
Okay, well, no one explained that to me. So I'll go first.
Let me pull up the text that I sent you. I'm almost sure that I explained this to you.
Well, you sent what it was, but I don't think you said.
I said team stack of the year. One team that exceeds expectations where lots of players pay off.
Okay, fair. I'll take that. I'll take the
Also-
L on that.
In the show sheet.
I'll take the L on that. I was busy arguing with Neil Orfield about the movie Ransom and why it is a top tier action movie for the 90s. I didn't have time to read that. Okay. So shout out.
We still don't believe that's a real movie, Boomer.
Oh my God.
Ransom? That's not a movie. It's definitely not a movie.
Come.
Made that up.
How much older? You know what? I'm not going to go with this again.
A lot older. You just try to shit talk Devon Achane. You're like 82.
It is true. That's fair. I haven't called that
play
before.
fantasy on like the
Well,
NFL.
my incorrect selection for this category is gonna fine. You know, I'll say the Dallas Cowboys, but I'll say specifically the Dallas Cowboys for 2 players. How about that? Suck it,
Also,
Jacob.
Look,
Last year the Dak CD Lamb stack was unstoppable. You could not beat it. If Jake Ferguson somehow decided that he was going to have one of his 4 good weeks last year at the same time, look out. I think that having Dak and CD Lamb alone can win people leagues, not just in redraft, but dynasty as well. Like it's going to be unbelievable. Now the rest of that offense, okay, I'll admit, probably dog water with the running backs.
Get hit with the Rico.
Oh my God. But I
That
do
was the lightest
again.
thing I've ever done.
I do think that was your best Zach Wilson right there. I do think that Dak and CD Lamb to me are probably the biggest league winning stack that there is. So to me, it's the Cowboys, but specifically Dak and CD Lamb.
I just have one question for Tom. When you're counting up all the points from your Cowboys stack, are you doing that on the internet or are you pulling out the newspaper box score and then writing it down in your binder?
Well, when I go on my paper route, I just so happen to sneak one of those newspapers. Now, a newspaper, Ryan, was this thing that they used to produce where somebody would print out the day's news really, and ship it out to people early in the morning, where you would do this thing where you open it and then read it on paper. So I'm glad we could solve a couple of things tonight.
I do
Lucas,
vaguely remember newspapers from my childhood. That was,
right.
I
Never
remember
experienced
like
bunny ear
laying out the sports
TVs.
section on the floor when I was like 5 years old, and then I never saw a newspaper again.
That's so funny. Jesus Christ. All right, Jacob, let's do it.
Give me the Broncos. I've talked about how I love every running back in this backfield. I'm sure everybody's heard this stat before by now, but they were the 5th team in running back expected fantasy points. Even in half PPR, they were higher, I'm sure, in full PPR. But I had written the article for half, and I haven't done the research on full. Just every single year of Sean Payton's career as a play caller, they've had top 5 receiving XFP for the running back position. It's going to be a spot to target where you get all these running backs at pretty cheap prices, especially in seasonal, but even in dynasty, you're going to want to take multiple bets across your portfolio on this backfield. And then I also like a Bo Nix as a very cheap quarterback to acquire with a lot of insulated value in dynasty and some rushing upside, even for seasonal leagues, especially super flex formats to target. And then you have total cheap dart throw bets on guys like Mims, Franklin, Dulcich. I could see one of those hitting. And Cortland Sutton, as much as he's like a complete boomer pick, is like basically freely available in Dynasty. Probably one of the cheapest possible Dynasty guys you can get. That's probably a pretty good bet for like a 22, 23% target share this year. I think that there's a lot of value to be had in this Broncos offense.
Yeah, I like the pick. Lucas, you can't pick your Broncos. Who's it going to be?
So I went with the Seattle Seahawks just because I can't keep thirsting over Geno Smith individually anymore this offseason. But the reason why I love this stack is the cost that goes into acquiring the players to have the stack. Geno Smith is going as the quarterback 30 right now. You have DK Metcalf, who is the highest out of any of the Seahawks players, going in round 5. I'll let Ryan Heath talk about how much we're supposed to love Kenneth Walker, but Kenneth Walker is a great look there. Tyler Lockett just keeps hanging around and keeps producing. I don't think he's going to be a top top 24 wide receiver this season, but I think that he's going to be a fine player for your flex spots. And then you have the upside of JSN and the potential that he can improve in year 2. I think that there's a lot of upside baked into this at very low cost to try to acquire some of these players. We won't go into Noah Fant, but Noah Fant's also fun. So
yeah, the Seahawks won't get into Noah Fant, so it's okay if you don't. Ryan,
Hey, that's my week 1 pick'em player. Don't talk.
don't
like
think
that.
don't think I didn't notice. Don't think I didn't notice. Go ahead, Ryan.
Anyway, I don't know how I became the Ken Walker guy, by the way. I've never been a Ken Walker guy my entire
Dude, I'm with you, man. This is the first year I'm in. It's gonna happen for us.
Yeah, and his price doesn't change when he might catch passes now. It's weird. Why doesn't his price change? Anyway,
I did change. It went down. It went down.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the pass protection, bros. That's really what's causing it.
Yes. I took the Titans. This one isn't so much like I have the utmost confidence in this offense and that everything is going to work. It's more like I want to find out, and I think it's either going to work or it's going to be really bad, but it's going to be kind of fun just with the passing volume that Brian Callahan has not shut up about all season. If the Titans do anything short of like top 3 in pass attempts per game this year, then I'm going to be disappointed by where Callahan has set the expectations. And also Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins, both kind of priced like they're washed. Now, I agree, both of them could be, but at their prices kind of in all formats, I'm totally fine with finding out. I was really big on Hopkins as like a catchable target, kind of positive regression type of guy. Then he got hurt, and I was like, oh, okay, like old receiver, hurt going into the year. Probably don't want that. And he was like the quietest ever, like he's going to be okay for week 1 a week or so ago. So now I'm back in on DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm excited again, I guess. Calvin Ridley getting compared to Jamar Chase, obviously, by Callahan. We're either going to look back on this and be like, man, Brian Callahan was really trying to tell us, or this is going to be like we play all the Brian Callahan clips in like November, and it's just embarrassing to watch or think about. So, and Tajay Spears, have to say Tajay Spears. Tony Pollard's good too, just as a pick, as a bet. I prefer Spears just because one of the best pass catching seasons we've seen out of a rookie running back in a really long time. So I definitely want to be in on that in all formats too.
Right. I actually like this pick because I watched the game, their last preseason game, and they opened up like 4 to 5 plays were play action rollouts or play action tight end screens or over routes, check that. Like the offense looked smooth and for what could be expected out of the system. And I mean, if we get that, if we get Calvin Ridley running deep crossers on the backside while Will Levis is like doing a backside sprint out and hits him wide open, I mean, guys, we could legitimately be talking about 1,200 yards from Ridley and like Will Levis rocketing up draft boards next year. So I love that pick. I very much liked what I saw when the starters were on the field for Tennessee. And I like that I didn't see Treylon Burks. So I mean, that's always a sign that things are going in the right direction, if you ask me. Okay,
he was just running wind sprints. He was just
out there, and I didn't see him, and that made me pretty happy. So we've done team stack the right way. I totally didn't misread that. We did the biggest dynasty riser. Now we're gonna do the sleeper of the year. I kind of like how this one is shaping up. I'm gonna go first here, just because I want to knock it out. I want to ask. Since this wasn't in the text message, Jacob, you can pull it up. Sleeper of the year. Let's define how low that you have to go and what we expect for this to be a hit.
All these seem fine to me.
Okay, that's fair. I'm going to go with Jameson Williams as the sleeper of the year. And I'll tell unironically, Jacob, the sleeper of the year. But I'll tell you why. It's because he's quite literally expected to do nothing. Right now, he is
That's
the
not true.
teenager
People
failing in
drafted
high
this
school.
Loser.
Well, 10th round. So, I mean,
Yeah,
that's still a sleeper to me.
That's
But
pretty high
this
expectations to me.
This is like the teenager that's failing school that decides to like stay in bed because he doesn't want to. No one expects anything, but then he shows up to class and maybe he gets an A. Like we could very much see that ending. I don't necessarily think it's gonna happen, but I said this on the show. I think it was last week in the Bold Takes episode, where like if it doesn't happen this year, he's just droppable. So I'm gonna say that as a sleeper to legitimately break out, I consider his breakout to be like 12 points per game, 12 and a half, which to me, if you get that out of Jameson Williams, you're doing backflips up and down the street. So for my
especially with his
sleeper,
truthers, oh my God, he'll be like a 4th round pick next year. People will be like, oh my goodness, he walks, he talks, he does cartwheels.
Exactly. So to me, as a sleeper, I'll say Jameson Williams. As a bonus for a true sleeper, a player that's left for dead, I'll say Xavier Legette, actually blossoming as the number 1 receiver in Carolina. Not Deontay Johnson, to me, would be a absolute sleeper pick. That would blow up. So those are my
Xavier
two
Legette is
sleepers
the number
for the
1
league.
sleeper this year. Then I don't need to work a law career anymore. Like, just please, Xavier. Like
Your best ball portfolio will be
one time for my underdog teams, brother.
But that's it. I think they're 2 fun picks, and I think that they're not really expected to contribute. If you look at, I think, rational Twitter. Irrational Twitter would be JMO wide receiver 1 season, which is out there. But in terms of like a player not truly expected, but more so that you are hoping he does what we think he can do or what they think he could do, I'll say Jameson Williams at 12.5 points per game, to me, would be the biggest sleeper of the year. Yeah, we'll go with that. Lucas?
I'm assuming this is the one that Jacob doesn't like out of my picks. And that is going to be
I don't like those Shaw wide receivers.
I know. But I was looking for somebody that I thought could kind of skyrocket up boards as well. But somebody that also I was taking a risk here. All right. There's a very real scenario where he leads the Buffalo Bills in targets this season. We did see a large uptick in work as the season kept going on. Saw an uptick in red zone targets from, I think, 1 throughout the first 15 games, and then he had 4 over the last 4 games that the Bills played in for the season. That's 1 a game. That's not great, but it's a lot better than 1 through the first 15 or so games. He was hyper efficient with his opportunities. I know that's not going to carry over with volume necessarily. I still think that he's going to be good in the opportunities he gets. And I don't think that there's been a player for the Bills really emerge as that true number 1 for commanding a large target share. I think that Khalil Shakir can have a very defined role. I think that he can help a lot of teams, and I don't think you're going to have to pay very much to get him before the season starts. Or if you were acquiring him over the offseason, you weren't paying very much to get him. He is the kind of player that's thrown into a trade to make it just a little bit more even for someone. Like, I think that sets up to be a really good sleeper pick. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and you didn't have to pay too much to get him. So I'm going to cover myself just a little bit there, but I do think that the potential is there.
All right. I don't mind that for a sleeper.
Fun quick trivia question to troll Khalil Shakir, who's not that bad of a pick. I just get tilted by this guy because he goes so high in so many drafts and people keep tweeting at me about him. Trivia time. Khalil Shakir, under 15% targets per route run in both of the first 2 years of his career. There has been 1 wide receiver since 2010 to have posted a top 36 season after opening their career with 2 straight sub 15% targets per outrun seasons. Can anyone name that wide receiver? This is courtesy
Stephon
of
Diggs.
Not true. He lit right out of the gate.
I'm going to say Devontae Adams.
No, he earned a lot of targets actually early in his career. He just didn't catch any of them.
Yeah, it was just bad.
I said Demaryius Thomas. Is that wrong?
That is not true. How about here's this for a clue. And so they was tossing babies, and I was catching them, unlike
Aguilar.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh my gosh.
That lives rent free in my head. Oh my god. That was so good.
I just want to point out before we get Jacobs here, Parker, we love you. Not a start and sit, but my suggestion is always start who's projected to score more. Because that's how I do my start and sits. So there you go. There's the big secret to Tommy T's lineup decisions. And
Man of the people.
Neil Orfield wants to know, is Xavier Legette this year's Nico Collins in the Jacob sphere?
I mean, kind of, right? He's like a dude that I'm drafting a ton of and like praying for happiness, I guess. He's kind of healthy. Yeah, I'll take it. I hope
Jacob,
so.
who's your guy?
Yeah, I went with Bucky Irving. I talked about him last week on the Bold Predictions show. I loved his college tape before it turned out he was completely unathletic and a tiny little man. He was my RB4 in the class. I did the responsible adult thing. I dropped him down after his pathetic combine performance. However, he lands with Rashad White, who is a running back that I have very little respect for as a rusher. I think he's a good receiving back. But I think that there's a chance that Irving just starts to look like he's moving in hyperspeed in the backfield as a processor compared to Rashad early in the season. And I've predicted that I think he's going to take over in terms of carry share starting in week 10. I'll say that he comes in as a sleeper this year that people are really excited to target for 2025. At which point I'll probably be saying sell his ass because he's tiny and slow.
No, I love that. I drafted him on the only redraft team I've done this year for Ryan is that very potential type play. Speaking of Ryan, who's yours?
I feel like I probably should have come up with another one because we just talked about this guy already on the show a bunch. I said Jaleel McLaughlin.
He's going to be the fantasy MVP for this show.
Kind of for all the reasons that Jacob and Lucas have already brought up. Like the Sean Payton offense is insane for running backs. I had a Twitter thread a week or two ago kind of just musing about how the sort of the satellite running back in fantasy football, it has kind of been dead for the last 3 to 4 years, just as the NFL has moved away from targeting the position. We've really only had Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, and Alvin Kamara getting like real production through the air at the running back position. It used to be like you'd get your James Whites, your Chris Thompsons. You could like scam your way to an RB2 and PPR that way. I think Jaleel McLaughlin, if anyone can do it this year, it's Jaleel McLaughlin. Sean Payton has compared this guy to like, I don't know if he specifically said Darren Sproles. I just see it happening where McLaughlin gets like 7 to 8 checkdowns a game approximately and is just kind of a fantasy football hero. I don't know that he ever is capturing like a majority share on the ground. But I still think in terms of like players you can just draft extremely late who will actually help your team this year, he would be like at the top of my list.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
Should put him on the thumbnail.
Yeah, I should have. Do you guys want to hear kind of a funny statistic with Chris Thompson, by the way?
Sure do.
The last time I rostered Chris Thompson in Dynasty was on my championship roster squad where he put up 9.2 fantasy points on championship weekend.
Very Chris Thompson score.
Right, which would have helped you more that week than starting DJ Moore. Granted, Moore got hurt, but still, think about that. And a world where Chris Thompson was more valuable than DJ Moore in the finals. There's that. There's a little Chris Thompson news there. No, I don't. I think Jaleel might have to be the thumbnail next week, given how much we are talking them up. One of everyone's favorites, rookie of the year, and I think everyone here has selected some bangers. I think the easy answer would have been Caleb Williams, but I like that none of us went there. So if you're expecting some Caleb rookie of the year talk, not happening. We're going to start this one
for the
off.
record, this is a fantasy take, right? We're not picking the real life rookie of the year.
Yes. Yeah. These are all fantasy takes.
Caleb Williams.
is our fantasy takes. I think Caleb Williams could be. I mean, the 101 pick goes out. If he sets the Bears franchise records, I can see a legitimate case. But I'm glad that none of us actually went there. We do only have one quarterback though on this list, and that's courtesy of Ryan. So Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I looked at your guys' picks and I was like, what? It's rookie of the year. Why did nobody pick a quarterback? I'm gonna pick a quarterback, but also I'm not gonna pick Caleb Williams because that's boring. So I just kind of by default, I landed on Jayden Daniels. I don't know. It's the same Jayden Daniels take that everyone's probably heard 87 times this offseason. But in case you haven't, one of the best runners we have seen come out of the college level. With Cliff Kingsbury, whose offenses were like top of the league every single year in terms of plays per game. Kyler Murray is a rookie, like averaged a ridiculous amount of rushing production with him. It's just Jayden Daniels. And he's weirdly, as Tom and I were talking about on the tier stream this weekend, weirdly affordable in Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just in terms of what the expected production is this year, as opposed to even somebody like a Jordan Love or a Justin Herbert who are being drafted over him. I agree there's a reason both of those guys have more value insulation and security, but there are definitely builds you can do where it just makes a lot of sense to take Jayden Daniels in sort of a win now startup, and he also gives you that like explosive upside of he could be a top 6 dynasty pick by this time next year. So yeah, Jayden Daniels, rookie of the year, fantasy, real life, because by default, he's the only quarterback on this list. So my chances are pretty good, I think, against the rest of these guys. So yeah, Jayden Daniels.
I don't mind that. Again, fantasy football, I mean, I absolutely love and agree. I do want to just address this one. Fantasy Points YouTube regular, Ballist Boys Plumbing with Luke McCaffrey being named starter. How do you feel about him? Still love him. Loved him on draft night. I'm the highest on Luke McCaffrey on this program. Have been since day one here, and I continue to love him. Gets a legitimate opportunity to be the number 2 there. Hey, I love it for him. Let's go rookie of the year. Let's go Lucas.
So for mine, I was going for fantasy rookie of the year, but I also picked somebody who has a very real shot of being the actual rookie of the year, not as a quarterback, because I do think aside from Jayden Daniels being most important for his team, I think that Malik Neighbors is arguably the most important player for the New York Giants this season. If we go in just assuming that Daniel Jones is going to be a train wreck, Malik Neighbors has the ability to carry this offense. He doesn't have to receive like the awesome high value targets. He's just going to get peppered with targets nonstop. Throw it to him behind the line of scrimmage. Fine. He's going to just eat those up, get a bunch of useless yards whenever it's in garbage time. But the real thing that makes him the rookie of the year and the MVP of the rookies is the fact that he is going a full round after Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think that he can be the most productive rookie wide receiver that we have this season, and you aren't having to pay for like the iron price that you have to pay for Marvin Harrison Jr. He also has the ability to raise in value going into next season, which I like. I don't think that there's a world where Marvin Harrison Jr. can go higher than he already is at wide receiver 5, just with the depth that we have at that position. So I'm going to go with Malik Neighbors.
I love that pick. I really do. I'll go next here. I'm going to take another wide receiver. I'm going to say Brian Thomas Jr. And I'll tell you why. On the show with John Hansen, Brian Drake, and former NFL insider Adam Kaplan, he explained why the signing of Gabe Davis doesn't matter for BTJ. They're different body types. They will have different roles. Everyone assumed that when they signed Gabe Davis, they were to just basically be the Spider-Man meme. Not true. If we expect Trevor Lawrence to be healthy, and if we expect Trevor Lawrence to actually break out and be the prince that was promised and provide legitimate upside, I think it's going to be on the legs of not Christian Kirk or Evan Ingram. True upside is going to come with Brian Thomas Jr., the play action deep crosser, the same thing I mentioned loving out of Calvin Ridley and the Titans offense. Well, guess what? I love the same thing in Jacksonville, and Trevor Lawrence can hit those. Brian Thomas Jr. looked surprisingly good. He looked better than I could have possibly expected during the preseason. He looks like a true capable alpha wide receiver one type. Look, I love Christian Kirk, but we know what he is and we know what he isn't. And that alpha number one is not it. And personally, I would like to see fewer 2-yard throws to Evan Ingram, and I would like to see more 14-yard throws to Brian Thomas Jr., who I did have above Ladd and Worthy early on in this draft process, and I feel like a coward leaning off of it. I think Brian Thomas Jr. has a legitimate chance to post 1,108, and to me, if you're getting him as late as you are in Dynasty startups, to me, that screams fantasy rookie of the year. So BTJ. If it happens, Lawrence, I'm going to need you.
Please, Trev. Love to hear that one. I'm going to stick with the wide receiver train. I'm going to go Xavier Worthy. I just think he looks like he's locked into a big route share early. And with Hollywood Brown starting out the year hurt for probably a couple of weeks here, it's just hard to be better set up than Worthy is, playing full route shares as sort of the primary deep threat, Rice and Kelsey really running underneath, with Patrick Mahomes in a year that it seems like the vibe around the Chiefs is we kind of got lucky last year doing the run the ball, play defense thing. We're going to get back to being the real Chiefs again. We're going to throw the ball. We're going to have fun. Worthy's a big part of that. I'm not even like as convicted on Worthy's talent as I am on other guys. But the one thing I know with him for sure is like he has 1 or 2 big games early in the season. And the first segment on this show is going to be like, how high are we ranking Xavier Worthy? And there's going to be people out there that are going to be pushing him into being worth 1.5, 2 first, 2.5 first, because, you know, there is no ceiling that's too high. If you look like you're going to be a superstar playing with Patrick Mahomes, the ceiling is just unmatched there. So I'm going to go with Worthy.
I don't mind the pick at all. I think he's kind of the sleeper fantasy rookie of the year to me because, like you said, I could see it going both ways completely. So I don't mind that. Yeah, Ryan, I can do that. Let's go with, we got 2 left. We've got the fantasy LVP and then the fantasy MVP. And then we're going to pick Super Bowl winner and NFL MVP. So sit tight. We got a little bit more to go here. Look, it's week 1. Of course it was going to be a long episode. Like, what, are you kidding me? Okay, let's go fantasy LVP. And I'm going to go last because I want to trigger Jakob here. So I want to go with Jakob first.
All right, this is the one that I'm going to put my nuts on the table here and take a risk. I'm not going
to stand up,
be the guy that comes up and go, oh, Najee Harris, whatever. I'm going to pick someone that has potential to actually light me up and make me look like an idiot here. I'm going to make it Cooper Kupp. I was on record early in the season. I thought his early price was, to me, a smidgen too high for pretty much any format that's not like tournament-based cumulative scoring. Like if we're talking about a game that involves playoffs, I personally value with that 2nd, 3rd round pick, or in Dynasty, you know, you can make an analogous comparison, an asset that's going to score well and then really has the chance for that big single week upside in the playoffs. And Kupp, I think you're taking on so much risk in terms of a player whose efficiency really declined last year down to 1.86 yards per route run from, you know, the stratosphere, dealt with all these injuries the last couple of years, to go and take that risk on him. I just didn't think it was a well-calibrated bet. And then his ADP since then has jumped by like a round and a half in seasonal leagues to the point where he's going in the early 2nd. People are picking him over Puka, which I think is like both simultaneously something that could happen pretty easily, but I think is like crazy town as a process based on how good Puka was as a rookie. And then Kupp coming off of this successive period of decline and injury. So I think Kupp is just the worst ADP currently in seasonal leagues in the first 3 rounds. Obviously, I recognize the ceiling, but I think that the risk is not calibrated well to the bet. I'm going to pick him as the LVP.
Yeah, I have Kupp as a priority sell after week 1 when he plays healthy in Dynasty. If you haven't already,
he's going to look pretty good. He's going to look like a guy that people are really excited about victory lapping week 1. I think I don't necessarily think that's going to hold up, but we'll see.
I think priority sell for sure. I mean, I've already sold for 27 firsts multiple times this offseason and a couple 26s. I'm going to be locked in to get rid of the last like 6 to 7% that I'm holding bags of after he looks good week 1 or 2. Ryan?
Yeah, I'm looking at the names now, and I feel like I went with like a bit of a colder take than you guys did. But we're going to go with Mike Evans as the LVP here. Want to be clear, this is very specifically not like a week 1 DFS or matchup take. I really like him this week. Go play him in your battle royales and in your DFS lineups. But I just don't have any confidence in this Bucs offense. I am seeing all the chatter about Godwin is going to be in the slot. He has just been so much better there over his entire career. To the point where up until kind of last year, his production was about the same as Mike Evans. And just seeing him as like a top few round redraft pick this year just rings really incorrect to me. And yeah, I guess I'll be wrong probably after week 1, but I think the record will show I was correct eventually here.
I think that's a fair take. I mean, I jokingly said this the other day. He's got to fall off eventually, that guy. I don't know when it's going to happen, but my God, man, 13 touchdowns again? No, I don't know. No Canales. I think there's a path here. And also, I mean, McMillan, pretty damn good on that outside. Lucas is trying to get fired after just getting hired one day later on this program, but I'll hear it out. He's wrong, but I'll hear it out.
So I'm not going for Trey McBride. All right. We'll not go after Trey McBride. I think Trey McBride's going to be good. But my fantasy least valuable player is going to be Mr. Sam Laporta. And so much of it has to do with where you are drafting him, what the opportunity cost is for taking him over some of the other running backs and wide receivers available in the 3rd round. And he was like, his best ability last season was his availability. That's why he finished tight end 1. Yes, he had great volume stats. He had good efficiency. He played well, but I don't see
greatest tight end season of all time for a rookie. Yeah. Kind of good.
For a rookie.
Is that good?
For a rookie. But I do think that the talent at the tight end position is going to work against him. There are really good tight ends in the league right now. We are seeing almost a renaissance, as it were. And I think that there's a possibility he will not finish as one of the top 6 tight ends in fantasy football this season. I don't see double-digit touchdowns again. There are a lot of mouths to feed in that Detroit offense. And unfortunately, I think he's going to go a little bit further down the pecking order. Not saying that he's not going to be startable or he's not going to be a tight end 1.
Lucas Gilbert, biggest JMO guy that exists, confirmed on this show.
It's more the Gibbs targets that scare me with him, honestly. But
150 Gibbs targets.
How many times have I talked about JMO on this show? I am curious now because I don't know where I got.
Hour 27 in, folks. Let's keep her moving.
I don't know where this is now coming from. I didn't think I was a JMO truther. Similar to Ryan saying, I don't know how I became the Kenneth Walker guy, but here's all the reasons I like Kenneth Walker. I don't know. I don't know where that's coming from, but Sam Laporta.
Just so you know, you're fired. The first firing of the 2024 season. Look, mine, I'm going to trigger Jacob with this, but I have 2 reasons for this one. Lamar Jackson is going to absolutely shit the bed as the 105 in Dynasty startups right now.
And worst Ravens fan ever.
I'll tell you why. There's backwards.
Such an annoying pessimist about your own team every year.
There's some backwards,
especially when they're good too.
Could you guys? Can I finish? Can I finish?
No.
Last time I said this, Lamar went out and won the MVP. So there's a little bit of a rub of the genie here. But look, I'll tell you why. Never before have they in the Lamar Jackson era, Derrick fucking Henry. We're talking about the likelihood of less opportunity inside the 10 for Lamar than we have ever seen. They may never throw the ball inside the 10 when they have Derrick Henry out there. We already don't get enough rushing attempts inside the 5 from Lamar Jackson. I have been screaming about it. Any chance where Lamar Jackson has fewer opportunities to score the big points that we need and also finally have a running back that they can just give the ball to 15 times in the second half when they're trying to bleed out a clock instead of the running back they use to bleed out the clock being Lamar Jackson can be a problem. Let's also not forget that Rashad Bateman is ass, and not the fantasy points ass, just straight ass at the job that he has, which is playing receiver. Zay Flowers doesn't have the upside. Like, we are talking about needing a lot to happen when they just brought in the running back to signal that this is going to be his backfield. If they're leading, which I don't know if you guys know this or not, but the Ravens lead pretty often in the regular season, they could just bleed the clock out with the big dog. I mean, and look, if Derrick Henry reaches his potential in Baltimore and scores 17 rushing touchdowns for a player that relies on touchdown efficiency to hit his peak ceilings, it's going to hurt Lamar whether we want to admit it or not. And you're drafting him at 105 in Dynasty. Yeah, to me, he's just going to be the biggest bust at his cost. I've said this for a long time. He's the worst elite asset to own in fantasy because he gives you like 12 points, but he'll give you like 4 35s and it leaves you fiending for more. So to me, it's Lamar Jackson at 105, simply because I really think Derrick Henry's scoring 17 rushing touchdowns this year, and it'll cap Lamar. There you go. I said it. I said what I said. Now go win another MVP, Lamar. Let's go win another one. I said it last time. We got some magic, but if you really think about it, it can make some sense. All right? It can.
All right, positivity corner here. Last one.
Positive. We're turning the positive corner here. We're no longer tilting about the biggest touchdown vulture not named Taysom Hill, which is going to be Derrick Henry. But let's talk about the fantasy MVP. Let's do it right now. I'm going to turn this into a positive note. I'm going to go right away here. I'm going to say Kirk Cousins is the fantasy MVP. Not for the reason that you think. Kirk Cousins is going to finally distribute the ball to our players that we have been dying to see be successful. Kirk Cousins has the opportunity to finally give us elite Drake London, elite Kyle Pitts, and lead an elite offense is what we need for Bijan Robinson upside. It really has nothing to do with Kirk Cousins himself, though I think he's going to provide you great value for where you drafted him in Dynasty and what his cost is. But if Kirk Cousins turns our favorite have-nots into finally top 10, top 12 options across the board, we are all going to be paying or offering to pay and donating for him to acquire more and more chains to wear around his neck, because he will be my goddamn fantasy MVP for finally giving us upside in Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson. Salute to you, Kirk Cousins. My MVP. Jacob?
This is going to be not surprising, and this will be the start of a theme for me over the next 10, 15 minutes of this program. CJ Stroud, fantasy MVP, going to be the QB1 overall this year in 6-point passing touchdown leagues, going to set the all-time single-season passing yardage record, going to support 3 top 12 fantasy wide receivers, and everybody who's been drafting anyone on the Houston Texans, be it Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, or CJ Stroud himself, will get to join hand in hand and dunk all over the Dynasty virgins. But he's a pocket quarterback. You can't rank if they're on a 3. He's a pocket quarterback. Those people are going to get stuffed in a locker. It's CJ Stroud, SZN. He's going to be the fantasy MVP. He's going to bring everybody with him.
Okay. I mean, bold, but I can vibe. Ryan?
All right, another one that's not going to be surprising. So sorry if you're sick of hearing me talk about this player.
You guys are all lame.
A good news item crossed my timeline about this player today, so I just had to talk about it.
Christian
Watson. Yeah. No,
Jacob's
I'm
former
not
future
literally
MVP.
Scott Barrett. Like you can't do me like this. Come on. Yeah. Anyway, Christian Watson has not missed a practice the entire summer. He hasn't missed a practice, guys. The entire narrative about his hamstring just being fixed because they are addressing the muscle imbalance or whatever it was, that it's real. I'm convinced it's real at this point.
That week 1 questionable report pregame is going to hit hard.
Do not do that to me. Oh my God, Thomas. I
Ryan Heath's like ideal fantasy team has an 8 out of like 19. Like it's just Christian Watson, Rashid Shaheed. Like I didn't realize like how like the platonic ideal of a Ryan Heath like NFL offense is just all go every single play.
I hadn't quite thought of it this way, but you might be right. I'm scrolling up and down my my must draft players list. Go check that out on fantasypoints.com if you haven't read it and you still have your drafts going. That kind of checks out. I'm going to be honest. So Christian Watson, last time we saw him healthy, like actually healthy for an extended stretch, he was top 10 in yards per out run among all rookies. That whole list is just all-time greats at the position. I think he has that upside. I've seen some snarky comments in the chat tonight about how no one's going to separate in the Packers receiving core. I feel like that idea right in itself just tells me that we should be targeting players in this Packers receiving core. If we all think that even that any of them are individually good bets based on the talent, we probably want to take those bets in the ambiguous situations. That's just where the league winning types of players tend to come from. So yeah, give me Christian Watson fantasy MVP. I'll be completely insufferable if he even has like one incredible game. I'll make sure to get the victory lap then. But
well, if he has one incredible game and then not again, it'll be like the standard for his career. So I mean, really, you get the victory lap, everything we've already known.
Hey,
let's go, Lucas.
No, 15.4 fantasy points per game when he's over a 60% route share. That is more than any other wide receiver in his draft class, to be clear.
Yeah, but how often does it happen?
That only excludes 83% of games that he leaves injured.
Correct. Oh my God! I don't think he beats the Will Fuller allegations this year, so we'll see if it happens.
Hey, we all had one great season of Will Fuller. Maybe Christian Watson can put it together one time.
Yes, people say Will Fuller as if he didn't. Sign a contract, mysteriously hurt his finger, and then retire without anyone knowing. Who knows what's going to happen? Lucas, finish this off. Fantasy MVP. Let's go,
fantasy
baby.
points on Thanksgiving, and then just basically never played again. That was like it.
Just refuse to elaborate. Yeah.
Lucas. Oh, Lucas, you're all sorts of messed up right now, buddy.
Lucas, you're muted, sir.
We don't know if he's muted or if the show has just decided. I don't think Lucas is currently with us at all. He is
Lucas,
not only.
We can't hear you, brother.
Poor guy.
He's not only muted. I say we let him go.
Right. He's going.
Oh, he figured it out.
Let's maybe move on to Super Bowl, and then hopefully Lucas can figure it out in the meantime and give us his MVP.
Right. Let's go.
Lost the microphone, Lucas. Check your pockets, buddy.
Check your. He said he's lost his microphone. That can happen every now and then. We're gonna get him back eventually.
All right.
Someone said let Lucas cook. That's so fucking funny to me. All right, let's go. Who's gonna win the Super Bowl? Let's go with that, and then we'll hopefully get Lucas back here for the back half. Let's go with Jacob. Who's winning the Super Bowl?
I mean, look, I'm gonna stay right on brand here. It's gonna be I'm gonna say that the Green Bay Packers are gonna come out of the NFC. With Howard, of course, by wide receiver 1, Dontavian Wicks, and Jordan Love, and this awesome offense that's, redistributing wealth among their wide receivers better than Karl Marx could have ever imagined. But they're not going to win the Super Bowl. They're going to lose in the Super Bowl to, of course, Mr. Coleridge Bernard Stroud IV and the Houston Texans will be winning a thrilling Super Bowl 35-31. Jordan Love gets the ball back with 30 seconds left. He looks deep down the field. He's open. It's Christian Watson, but he pulls a hamstring and comes up 10 feet short of the ball. It falls helplessly to the turf, and the Texans are your Super Bowl champions.
You're just drinking whatever sauce. I think that's kind of insane. No 49ers or Chiefs this year in the Super Bowl is kind of nuts. Ryan?
Yeah, I would see. My pick was also going to be to like needle Jakob a little bit, but I can't beat like that picture he just painted. So it's just going to come off as like hating and lame now. So
hate away. I appreciate hating. Hating is the greatest form of flattery.
Okay. So I'm taking the Chiefs as the winner just because I want to be right. That's kind of all there is to that one. Yeah, I know, Jakob. Don't you hate that I want to be right? And then, but on the other side, so the Chiefs are winning the Super Bowl, but I'm going to say the Lions are coming out of the NFC, and I'll just give the MVP take now. It's going to be the Jared Goff MVP season to make Jacob's just eyebrows absolutely fall off his face like they look like they're about to do right now, just at the thought of Jared Goff. Jared Goff is actually really good discourse, which we kind of got last year, but this discourse always reaches another level when the quarterback gets to a Super Bowl. Like, never mind, like wins a Super Bowl. That would just be like totally code red. It just gets to the Super Bowl, wins a playoff game. Let's say he leads a game-winning drive against the 49ers in the NFC Championship, and we get to hear about how Jared Goff's actually the real deal for 2 weeks, all the way up through the media run until the Super Bowl when we have nothing better to talk about. So that's what I'm envisioning.
That's awesome. By the way, I assume it was implied in everything that I've been spouting the last 15 minutes, but my MVP pick is CJ Stroud.
Okay, that's fair. Lucas hasn't fixed his shit yet, but he wants a Bengals 49ers Super Bowl.
Ooh,
so he just typed it to me in the private chat.
Not an 80s Super Bowl?
That would very much be a rematch of a very old Super Bowl. Fun pick. He got one of the teams right, but he got the AFC team wrong. MVP Brock Purdy is going to walk into the Super Bowl with the San Francisco 49ers as Jakob walks into oncoming traffic, hearing me scream about it all the way across the country. And they lose to the AFC champion Baltimore Ravens as Lamar Jackson gets over the hump in the AFC championship game. I said he was going to be a fantasy bust. He could legitimately be back-to-back MVP with the way this team is run. I'm gonna finally say it. I've never guessed the Ravens on this show in the Super Bowl because, as our comment section has figured out, I don't hate your favorite team because I hate my own. Ravens over the 49ers as they dog walk them like they did on Christmas last year, beating NFL MVP 2024 Brock Purdy in the Super Bowl as Shanahan continues to never win the big game. So there you go. Big shocker. Lucas says he thinks he has it fixed.
I think I have it fixed.
Yeah,
we got him back.
Right.
We got him back.
Give us your regular season MVP and your fantasy MVP. We got your Super Bowl pick in here.
Okay, so my fantasy MVP, Devon Achane. I think that Thomas's reasons are dumb whenever he plays and he gets just over 40%.
Get his ass.
Yeah, you forget that I can hit the mute button.
Well, I'm just saying that whenever he has over 40% of his snaps, all but once he has eclipsed over 12 fantasy points per game, and he has eclipsed over 20 in 5 out of 11 times. That's including a game where he immediately left because he was injured. I'm sorry that it's fun whenever people make plays and score you lots of fantasy points and have ridiculous touchdowns. Like, it's amazing and it's fun. And you're getting him in the 3rd round. Actually, at the very beginning of the 4th round in Dynasty as the RB8. You want that on your roster. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I think this is the only time Jacob's ever actually cheered me on going after Thomas. So I'm loving it. And then actual MVP.
You start with 1 in the 5 for 5. You're starting at 1.
Oh, okay. Get out of here.
Oh, that is awesome.
That's the only rule of 5 for 5 is that I make all the rules. So
Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
I do think that this is the year, though, that Josh Allen will break through for the NFL MVP. I think people are just going to see how ridiculous he is in Buffalo, even with like the lack of talent. And I think that even if there are people that emerge for Buffalo, just going in with that perception that he has no help is going to really help his case. So that is going to be my NFL MVP pick.
Well, I mean, without Stephon Diggs, I might finally stop letting him throw as much as he did, so he won't turn the ball over like 21 times a year. So he might actually put himself in real legitimate contention with
Boomer!
that. Also,
My name is Thomas,
Mr.
and
Revolt,
I hate fun.
The other Harbaugh is in the conference, not the division, and also the Chargers. I have news for you. Gonna be ass. Not truly concerned. Also, my Harbaugh 1-0 versus brother Harbaugh in games that matter. So there you go. Let's just settle that debate. Lucas, NFL MVP.
Oh, I gave you it.
Give it to him. Josh
Oh,
Allen.
did you? Oh, Josh Allen. That's right. You snuck that in. I was busy reading our chat. That's on
I
me.
think it's 5 for 5 time.
We've been here for a while, but we were still going to give you 5 for 5 because we're that fucking dedicated. So there we go. All right, guys, let's get into it. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's 5 for 5 time, the last one of the year. I've already secured the most wins on this panel for this, but this one is for you guys. It won't be 3-2 this time, I promise. Jacob, let's explain 5 for 5 for those who may be new here.
All right, really quick. I'm going to do 5 players. They all have a unifying theme. Each of the players has up to 5 clues that I'm going to read. They all get a chance to guess after each clue. The amount of points they get declines the more clues that I give. At the end, we will total up the points, and that person will be the winner. All right.
All right.
This week, the theme is Week 1 superheroes. So these are all players who had a massive Week 1 fantasy performance that was exceptionally memorable. Okay, we're right on the brink of Week 1. So, first player. This player has the most passing yards in a Week 1 in NFL history.
Peyton Manning.
Incorrect.
Really? That Ravens game was an absolute.
He has the most passing touchdowns in a Week 1 game. I'll give you that. Anybody else?
No, Lucas is out. Ryan is out.
Jameis Winston? Total
Cowards.
shot in the dark.
Oh, incorrect. Okay, Lucas, you get first guess next round now. Okay, this game occurred between the Rams and the New York Yanks.
I'm just going to say Eli Manning for kicks and giggles.
Incorrect.
The New York Yanks?
That's correct.
Okay, so this is something like you said
Not
LA.
the Yankees, the Yanks.
You said this is going to be something like YA Tittle.
Incorrect, but I like where you're going there. Ryan, you got a guess here?
I don't think so. I'm just really confused right now. The Yanks?
All right. All right. This was supposed to be the first clue I gave. My bad. This is supposed to be the first clue of all of the clues. But this player's Week 1 fantasy performance equated to 39.86 fantasy points. Sorry, that's supposed to be clue 1 for all of them. All right. I'm assuming that's not going to help if we didn't get the first one. We got Rams and Yanks. We got all-time Week 1 pass yardage record. We got 39.86 fantasy points per game. All right. This one might be the kicker. His Week 1 fantasy performance was not only the NFL record for Week 1 passing yards, but still stands today as the all-time NFL record for passing yards in a single game.
Yeah, it's oh my god. I know who it is because I play Madden so much. It's not Sammy Ball. I can go, right? Because Lucas passed.
Come on, you guys.
Lucas passed, right?
I guess and got it wrong. So yeah.
Norm Van Brocklin.
That's correct.
Thank you.
2 points to Tom. Lucas has 1.
Play more Madden. If you go to Madden and go to records and check single game, that's where you hit. That's where he'll pop up.
I'll give anyone who wants to guess, and for the record, I knew this without looking it up. I'll give you 3 bonus points if you can tell me how many passing yards he had that day.
I think it's 563.
Really close. 3, 2, 1. 554 is the answer. All right.
550.
Truly insane that record is still alive today. That in the passing NFL of today, that we still have a 73-year-old record for most passing yards in a single game. Okay.
Yep. Agreed.
This player scored 42.8 PPR points as a running back.
42 PPR points as a running back in week 1 is insane.
I'm going to say LaDainian Tomlinson just as a wild guess.
It's a good guess. It is incorrect.
Jamal Charles?
Incorrect.
Let's just go with a funny one. Eddie Lacy.
Incorrect. That is funny.
That's actually pretty funny. I like that.
Okay. We might get it right here. I'm predicting that we're going to get on this clue. His week 1 performance was especially notable as fantasy drafters were trepidatious in the first game of his second season off of a breakout UDFA rookie campaign.
James Robinson?
Incorrect. We're looking for an undrafted free agent who put up 42.8 fantasy points in week 1 of his second season. All right, see nothing. 2, 1. All right, anybody but Tom can guess on the start of this clue. Okay. This player put up 42.8 points in a week 1 matchup that is also on this year's schedule.
Oh, that is a tough one. That is a tough one.
Wow. Like this year's week 1
Oh,
schedule?
it's in week 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say, that's really doesn't help if it's that much.
On this year's week 1 schedule. So same matchup as one of the 16 that we're getting here.
Arian Foster.
That's correct. It is Arian Foster.
Oh, wow.
I needed one more guess.
I just,
All right,
just
3 points for Ryan.
So.
1 point for Lucas, 2 points for Tom. We're going to question number 2.
3. Oh no.
3.
Yeah,
Correct.
this is 3.
All right.
Damn.
This player in week 1 had 28 fantasy points as a tight end.
I'm going to guess Jordan Thomas.
That is incorrect.
That's a damn good guess.
It is a good guess.
20 points in
Jordan
week.
Thomas is incorrect.
It'd be wouldn't it be Reed? Isn't it Jordan Reed?
Jordan Reed is also incorrect.
Delaney Walker.
That is incorrect. Clue number 2. This game occurred in the first game of the 2013 NFL season on Thursday Night Football.
Julius Thomas.
That's correct. Lucas had it right, but he got the wrong name.
No,
I know.
Wow.
I thought I was trying to give it away. I was like, Jordan Thomas is incorrect.
Oh, my
That's what I thought.
We
It was
all
Jordan
just
Reed.
thought the same thing.
I thought
Yeah,
Jordan
I don't know.
Reed when you said that.
Yeah.
So I was like, it would be
Wow.
Lucas, you
obscure.
fumbled it.
I
You
could have
fumbled the bag
sworn
on that one.
I had the first name right.
I was just
And
thinking of Julius
You wanna know
Thomas.
you want to know the embarrassing thing here is that I had just seen a post about Julius Thomas whenever I was doing some looks at Peyton Manning, and for the life of me, I couldn't remember that. Wow.
Famously caught the record-breaking touchdown from Peyton Manning that same year. Or the
Correct.
year
That
after, I
was a
can't
bag
remember.
Fumble by Lucas Gilbert.
Yeah,
But
appreciate that,
nonetheless, We got
Lucas.
6 points for Tom. We got 3 for Ryan, and we got 1 for Lucas. Number 4. This player had a whopping 46.8 fantasy points in his week 1 performance.
Sammy Watkins.
That is exactly correct. 5 points.
Okay, cool.
Suck it.
Unfortunate that I can't give clue 2, which would have given it away, but it's just such a ridiculous stat that I had to share it. He hits 46.8 fantasy points in week 1 of 2019. He hits over 14 fantasy points, twice more for the rest of his career, and both of them happen in the next 2 week ones.
Yep.
Truly a one-of-a-kind player. Week 1, Sammy Watkins. Tom is up by a lot. He's at 11. Lucas is at 3. Or sorry, Ryan's at 3. Lucas is at 1. But that's okay, because it's going to be triple points for the final clue. So you guys, Lucas used to get this on the second clue. Ryan can get this on the third clue. Tom, of course, just needs to get it on any clue, or for Lucas and Ryan not to get it by clue 3. All right.
This is ass.
This player had 43.7 PPR points in week 1 of 2003.
Repeat the amount of points.
In week 1 of 2003, he had 43.7 PPR fantasy points.
I'm going to pass this. I don't want to risk it, but I think I know who it is.
I'm going to wait until the next question.
I don't know how many players I could name that played in 2003. So,
okay. Here's the crazy one. Not only was this week 1 of his season, it was the first game of his NFL career.
2003.
I know I have to guess, but I'm waiting on Thomas to make
Randy
his
Moss.
Guess.
Incorrect.
I know he had 3 touchdowns. I just couldn't.
A 2003 rookie.
That was 20.
I'm going to guess Priest Holmes.
Incorrect.
Right.
Fun fact about Priest Holmes: he has a Super Bowl ring with the 2000 Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
There you go.
Lucas eliminated. Ryan can wait for one more clue if he wishes. Looks like that's what he's going to do.
I'll pass.
All right. This player is the only player in NFL history to have hit 200 receiving yards twice on week 1, doing it again 10 years later in 2013.
Oh, wow. Oh, that should help me. 2003.
Thanquan Bolden.
2013.
That's correct. Thomas has got it with a dominating performance. 14 points for Thomas, 3 for Ryan Heath, 1 for Lucas Gilbert. Thomas,
Fun fact.
Last 5 for 5 of the offseason. You're going out on top. How does it feel?
It feels great. Fun fact about Anquan Bolden, that he was actually a better rookie wide receiver than Larry Fitzgerald was in his career. He also came back from a broken jaw, which was an absolute cheap shot. Anquan Bolden also should have been the Super Bowl run MVP of the Ravens in 2012, because without him, we don't make it. He should also be in the Hall of Fame. And anyone who disagrees, #doesn't know ball. I'm victorious in useless football information once again. You guys have an entire season to study useless football information, and I hope that you make it a challenge for me going in to next off season. I'm the champ. That's what's up. It's been 2 hours. Let's wrap it up. Also, 5 for 5 is the best fantasy football quiz show. We do need an episode with Joe Dolan next year, because it's got to be like a Stump the Schwab style situation. That dude knows everything about football. Let's go. There's so much content going out. Jacob, you just did a massive update for Thinking About Thinking, couple late nights in a row. What do you got?
Yeah, man, I did lots of content up on Think About Thinking over the last few days. So make sure to check that out. I have fully updated Dynasty rankings. I have my annotated running back tiers where I have buy sell designations, player asset classifications, little notes, thoughts on each player. I dropped one final take for all 32 NFL teams. And then I also dropped my preseason Hitchhiker's Guide to Running Back. I ranked all of the streaming candidates for week 1. I talked about what I expect their week 1 role to be, how I expect that to evolve, and laid out the plan of the column for the rest of the year. And then lastly, I just want to shout out Austin in the chat, was the first one to get on Anquan Bolden. So shout out Austin. I'll give you some 5 for 5 points, and we hope to see you here throughout the rest of the year.
That's right. He was like Anquan Bolden is so good. He's absolutely so good. Ryan, you have a lot coming out.
I do, yeah. So first, I got to plug ads. Going to be a big reveal at some point very, very soon. So make sure you're keeping it locked to my Twitter feed, to the Fantasy Points Twitter feed. Going to be a lot of ass coming across your timeline very, very soon, I can promise. Aside from all of that, I have advanced matchups coming out on hopefully Friday morning, probably Friday morning. We'll say for that. Advanced matchups for your DFS lineups, for underdog battle royales, just kind of a weekly column, deep diving into some of the coverage shells, some of the man zone splits, kind of all the super nerdy stuff that you can pull out of the Fantasy Points data suite to get an edge in prop betting, in weekly DFS, whatever it may be. And then also Friday night, as Thomas mentioned earlier, who is still completely apoplectic at the ass joke that I made. But Friday nights, right here on the Fantasy Points YouTube channel, 8:30 Eastern time, every single Friday night this season, I will be live with Mr. Jake Tribby. We will be breaking down the underdog battle royale slates. For anyone who's never played battle royale, it's basically a cross between best ball and DFS, Thomas's two favorite formats that I know he's very excited to produce for us this year. So essentially you just get into a quick underdog draft, like a 5-10 minute underdog draft, and that's your lineup that you play in a tournament style contest for like the Sunday main slate. So it's a lot of fun. There's a big edge. I think it's way easier to win in that than especially in some of these bigger DFS tournaments. Just a lot less, I would say, sharp lineups as a percentage of the field. So I think it's really fun. I think it's a pretty good plus EV way to spend your money this fantasy season. So yeah, again, 8:30 Eastern time, every Friday night, Jake and I will be live.
And the Discord channel for that is free. All you need is a free subscription. And you can get in on that, Lucas.
Yeah, so I've got some fun things coming up with War throughout the season. I'll be doing that for Fantasy Points, and I'm really excited to be able to do that. Should have some articles coming out throughout the season too about some high value plays throughout the season using War as the baseline, and working on some potential lineup optimizers for DFS. We shall see where those get to though, but have a lot of things in the work. It's been a long off season of just coding a bunch of stuff that I don't know how to do and seeing what will eventually work. So I'm happy that the season's actually here to see if any of this stuff actually works. So I'm pumped.
It's definitely going to work. I'm excited that we didn't scrap the War tool, and I'm very happy that you redid it. I'm laughing so hard, my glasses are fogging up. For those listening, you can actually see how far. The last person I expected to make a butt plug joke in this group was Ryan, and I was not prepared. I'm crying, and I thought I was going to pass out for a minute. Truly incredible content.
Just to be clear, I didn't even do that on purpose. I realized about 10 seconds after I said it.
It was just the best.
We got to plug the ass.
Sure, man.
We got
honest to God, I was not.
It was just the way you kept on going too.
Yeah,
I get like halfway through the plug and I look up and all of you are like on the floor and I'm like, oh man, I gotta keep this one moving here.
I can't even wear my glasses because they keep fogging up. Like, this is it truly incredible how much I absolutely love this program. There is no show like it. I can't.
Audio listeners are getting screwed this week.
I can't. Please go and watch the YouTube show. We're gonna put that bit in the timestamps. You need to watch it. That specific joke is going in the timestamps. Truly incredible. I love this program. I'm excited for year 5 of this show. I am excited for officially year 1 here on this show with Fantasy Points. If you're not subscribed, I say it, we hit 10K. We've already passed 10,500. Truly remarkable what we're accomplishing. Over 500 subscribers since Thursday. Just want to thank absolutely everybody. You're all wonderful and amazing. Keep your ass in check. Remember that this week is supposed to be fun. Remember that there's other people on the other side of your screens when you are talking your trash. Enjoy setting your lineups, or if you're evil, enjoy watching the computer set it for you after the game's best ball players. Remember to check in on your loved ones, even if you're not sure that they need it. Remember that clear eyes and full hearts can never lose in your best days. They're right here, laughing and tilting with all of us. Good night, everybody.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.